Universal Studios Florida opened in 1990. Today it is 2025. And today I'm going to take you guys back in time and show you what this park looked like back in 1990 when it first opened. Things were a lot different than they are now. So, with a brand new theme park Epic Universe opening in just less than 100 days away at the recording of this video, I wanted to talk to you about what was before and what remains.
I am what remains.
So let's get going. So come on and join me. I have wanted to make this video ever since moving here to Orlando. But today, it's finally happening. We're going to give you an in-depth look at what the park looked like back then in 1990 versus what it looks like now. The first and biggest difference that we're going to start off with today is CityWalk. CityWalk did not exist here in 1990. In fact, all of this that I'm going to show you was nothing but a parking lot. Spanning throughout this whole area, turning here, this was all parking lots. There was no bridge, there was no water taxi, no CityWalk whatsoever. And even the arches are slightly different today than they were back in 1990. Even where the Universal Globe is today was not the same area that it was back in 1990. In fact, it was more over here in this area where the Hard Rock is now and the entrance is to the old Nickelodeon Studios, which I don't think we can actually get back there today. But the Globe was more in this vicinity here back in 1990. You can see the arches, an area over here. So you would have kind of walked up this way out of the side parking lot, which would have been here. So none of this, like I said, would have been here at all. This would all have been parking lot. Islands of Adventure wasn't even thought of at the time. It was still about 8 to 9 years away. All of this would have just been parking lot. So imagine yourself walking up. This does not exist. This over here to our right does not exist at all. And walking up here to the front of Universal Studios Florida was quite different back then. So before you go into the park here, there is the ticket area and the guest services area. This building still existed back in 1990, as well as this one over here. So all this was there before, and it looks pretty much the same. A few changes here and there, but pretty much the same. Some things that have changed drastically over the years is Production Central here in Universal Studios Florida. Now today, we have things like the Wicked store, which is going to be up for quite a while. And we have the brand new Minion Land, which opened, well, close to 2 years ago now. The first two attractions that you come to in the park were not always VillainCon or Minion related. In fact, back in 1990, the building here on my right was Alfred Hitchcock, and over here to the left was Hanna-Barbera. It was kind of a motion ride, very similar to this now, but the biggest thing was the Alfred Hitchcock Presents that changed. Now, while today this is drastically changed, obviously, to VillainCon, the facade still looks very similar to Shrek 3D. And of course, before that was Alfred Hitchcock Presents. But you can see the queue area still looks very similar, and the entrance here. Also, later on, this was no longer Hanna-Barbera. It actually changed to a Jimmy Neutron ride, which is cool. It was a motion ride as well, but that was a little bit later, so it wasn't opening day kind of thing. But still, I wanted to reference it because it was here back in the 90s when I was here. As I mentioned, this was a Jimmy Neutron attraction, but We need to go inside of Super Silly Stuff, which is the gift shop, and show you a reference to Jimmy Neutron in here. You can see inside the gift shop here, there is a rocket over here. That is a reference to Jimmy Neutron. Another thing that is completely different today is this. When I visited, probably around in 93, maybe a little later than that, this whole production central area had cars from famous movies. And this certainly was not here. And if you remember, there used to be something called the Monsters Cafe that was right here in this area. But nowadays, we have the Minion Cafe. So somewhat of the Monsters Cafe exists. The building, like the bones of the building itself exists, but this itself is completely new and changed. No longer here. Let's step into New York, because New York has a few things that have changed here. Now, at the time, there was not a roller coaster going through this building here, but this used to house the Ghostbusters Spooktacular, which was a live show that you could go in and sit down and watch, and it was actually kind of cool. But now today, it houses Rip Ride Rocket that goes through there. But what's really interesting about this is that this attraction is closing in September of 2025. So it will no longer be here. So what is coming after that? Well, there's a reason maybe that these doors are still here. I would love to see this return to its former glory to Ghostbusters. Pop the sign right up there. And there you go. Also here in New York is Revenge of the Mummy. But on June 7th, 1990, it was not Revenge of the Mummy. This was Kongfrontation. And Kongfrontation was an attraction themed to King Kong. As you boarded the ride, you would try to escape from Kong, who was going through New York, destroying everything in his path. That attraction closed in 2002, and Revenge of the Mummy opened in 2004, which now has been open for 21 years. Now, I don't know if I can find the photo online. I'm going to try my best to find it, but there was also something that you could experience when you exited the attraction here in the Sahara Traders, which is the exit gift shop for Revenge of the Mummy. Let's go in here and see if we can match it up. I don't know if I can find the photo, but we will try. When you would exit the attraction, you would come out here and there was a giant King Kong that you could take a photo in front of. Now, they tried to replicate this a couple of years ago in the summer tribute store where you could do a photo op with him there. But this is where this used to happen. It was right out here when you exited the attraction. But as you can see today, it is no longer here. That was a little tidbit of information that I wanted to throw in there for you guys, because I wasn't even planning on talking about that. But I wanted to kind of give you guys an idea of some of the things that were different as far as queues go too. Now that could be a whole video on its own. But anyway, let's go over to San Francisco, because we have a lot to talk about over there. Now, this attraction has changed a couple of times, but in its inception, it was originally Earthquake. This was kind of a motion ride that you would go through, and you would go through a disaster, and they would almost show you what it's like on a movie set to use all the elements of water, fire, stuff like that. This changed. It was then called Disaster. And then after the fact, years later, they closed it down, and now this is just the exit to Fast and Furious Supercharged. And do you guys remember this guy? Now, he is in a different spot than he was back in 1990. He is not in the location that he was before, but Universal still has him here, and he is located over here by Lombard's. But let's talk about where he used to be. As I'm walking through here, I wanted to give an idea of what this used to look like. This is going from San Francisco into London. London did not exist back in 1990. This looked a little bit different over here as well. There was not all of this here. This was Amity Island, celebrating the 4th of July year-round. This was not here before. Completely changed. Had carnival games. It looked like a big celebration of the carnival. Then you would kind of walk this way somewhat. You had the water over here, but something changed along the way. Now in Amity Island, it housed the Jaws attraction, which we just saw Bruce hanging up over there. But what's really interesting now, this is the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, London to be exact right now. What's really interesting is there is a rumor, no one knows for sure, but underneath this fountain, that there is a Jaws animatronic or a Bruce animatronic buried here as a homage and paying respect to Bruce. I don't know if that's true. I've never heard that. I tried to ask it on a VIP tour and they wouldn't answer. So I don't know. But pretty cool if that's true. Now, let's talk about where the entrance of the attraction was. Now, in old videos and photos, you can kind of match it up here. This building here, which is bathrooms that they're doing a refurb on right now, was there. But if you turned here, the attraction entrance was right here. So this is now the famous area where you can knock on the windows. But if you line it up, I might be a few feet off, but if you line it up, I believe this was the entrance to the old Jaws attraction, which was amazing. I miss it, but man, I sure do love the Wizarding World here now. So if you can just picture it, just flip back 30 years ago to now, where this was at and where it is now. It's crazy. Now, inside is completely different. So I guess I should show you that. Now, imagine all of this being a lagoon with boats operating, big houses over to the side, flame effects, everything throughout here. This was all a lagoon. Now, it's not just this section of Diagon Alley, now the Wizarding World here. It also expands this way as well. So all of this was part of the attraction. All this was water. You could say I'm walking on water right now. Every single bit of this. Now, do I have the exact schematics and dimensions of how big the lake was, the lagoon, and everything? No, I don't. I can't tell you exactly where I'm standing right now versus 1990, but I do know all of this used to be that attraction. And now, I mean, it's amazing, but I kind of miss Jaws. Now let's cross the bridge here and let's talk about the next thing right here. Today, this attraction is the Simpsons ride here at Krusty Land. But in 1990, this was Back to the Future. Here at the Institute of Future Technology, you would go through this attraction, ride in a DeLorean, and chase Biff through time. But today, it is now the Simpsons ride attraction, which is rumored to be closing soon anyway. But this building is very much the same, even with the little glass windows here to the side as it goes down. And the shape of the building is the same. The color has changed. Krusty was not there, but inside it looks very similar to everything. I can't take the camera on attractions here, so I can't show you. But also, there is a small reference in the pre-show to the attraction for Back to the Future. This is sad. This is one of the best attractions that I believe that they had, and they changed this over. So it's no longer here, but there are some small references in the park. So let me take you over there and show you that. The Quickie Mart now here in Springfield used to be a Back to the Future shop. No longer that. But I digress. We've been talking about what remains in this video, but we could talk about what is coming. The rumor is that this area will be rethemed to Pokemon. I think that would be cool. I made a video on this like several months ago, but I think that would be real cool. Okay, now we're coming up to the reference for Back to the Future. As you exit Springfield, you just turn around and you will see the first reference, the Jules Verne train from Back to the Future 3. This was film used, so this thing is pretty amazing. And sometimes Doc Brown is out here saying hello. Today he's not. Maybe we'll see him before we leave. But yes, this is the train used in production for Back to the Future 3. But the next thing we have here is probably the coolest thing. It's a DeLorean. Look at it. That is amazing. This has been here for quite a while. It is one of the things that does remain about the attraction. Now, whether this was the actual DeLorean used back then, I don't know. You can see inside here. It's lighting up there. And on the back, you can kind of see it through there as it is showing the date, November 5th, 1955. And it says February 19th, 2025. That's funny. But then, around the back here, Mr. Fusion. Welcome to DreamWorks Land, which used to be Fievel's Playland. This was a play area for kids. We have water features, splash zones, and everything. Up until last year, June of 2024, they switched this over to DreamWorks Land, which is amazing. It did need an update, but Fievel's Playland will forever stay in my heart as a kid coming here seeing it. Not that I went there that much. Now, I know as I go through this video, there's probably things that I'm missing. This is more of a broad strokes of what was in the day. And it's also things that I remember from being a kid and being here for the first time in 1993. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. Today, we are not going to Islands of Adventure. We will do that in the next video. But I do have one more thing that I want to show you that I passed over. And it's pretty cool. I don't know how I totally missed this, but I completely forgot to mention, and this was not always Fast and Furious Supercharged. This is the entrance to Fast and Furious Supercharged. But this right here used to be Beetlejuice's Rock and Roll Graveyard Review. Look at this thing. You can see here in the photo I'm going to put up here, this is where the fountain was. And this was the entrance or the area to it, and this was a stage show with Beetlejuice. It was a pretty cool thing. It's no longer here. It's Fast and Furious nowadays, but you know, it is what it is. Things change, but it's cool that this fountain is still here, still representation here. Well, that was our look into Universal Studios in the 1990s and early 2000s. There were a few things there, but it's really showing you how far this park has come over the years. It's just crazy. With brand new theme park opening in May of this year, May 22nd, it's just insane to think about that a fourth park or a third park is being added here. It's just so crazy. And like I said, today we just went through the broad strokes of things that I remember from being a kid and in the 90s. There's other things like the Nickelodeon Studios that I can't get back there and show you guys right now because they don't have that path open. It was here, and there's things in Islands of Adventure that we're going to do in a separate video that I think will be a lot of fun. We'll do that really soon. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you are new here, please consider subscribing. Hit that like button and the notification bell so you know when our next video is coming out. And remember, the road goes ever on. I will see you in the parks.